Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the first lesson of class 10 in the NCERT book that we follow in CBSE. Today we are going to discuss that. The name of the lesson is Resource and Development. Now everyone may not have the book because due to some problem. So the link will be given in the description. If you click in the link, then you will get the part of the book which we are going to discuss today. So let us start this lesson, that is first resource and development. So when we start with our resource, if we say what is resource, then the most important thing that we need to know first is what is resource actually. So anything and everything that is that we see in our environment, we see around us, which can fulfill our need, which we can use it to fulfill our need, that particular thing is known as resource. So here, for a definition of the resource, if you want to see what is resource, so here I have drawn a picture. In this picture, this is the surface of the earth. Here there is a tree, this is the cloud, and cloud is giving rain. Then this is a mountain, here there is a river that is flowing, and this is a inside the earth also there are many resources or many important minerals. So this tree, this water, this mountain, this river, and whatever we find inside the earth, everything that is in the environment, that we can find in the environment, we can use all these things to satisfy our needs. For example, from trees we get oxygen, then different kind of fruits, vegetables, leaves. Then here mountain, they help us for creating rain. Then we can use it for the rocks that comes from the mountain. We can use it for construction of our houses. So different things that we can use it for to satisfy our need. These all things are called as resources. So the resource that is inside the earth also, that also we can use it for like petroleum, coal, etc. So these all things we can with the help of all these things we can use satisfy our need. That is why it is called as resources. Now the second part of the concept resource or definition of the resource, that is resources only can be considered with three distinct conditions. Now let us discuss about those conditions. What are those conditions? So a particular thing that we find in the environment can only be termed as resource if those things has these three technologies or these three conditions. If we find in that resource, then only we can term that particular thing to be resource. For example, if you see here, first condition that is we should find in a particular thing is first is technologically accessible. That particular thing should be technologically accessible. We will go elaborately to it. First let us just name the conditions. That is technologically accessible. Second is economically feasible, and third is culturally acceptable. So first thing, that if we by the term technologically accessible, what we can understand, that a particular thing is found in a particular place, but that country or that place, the organization under which that place comes, don't have the particular technology to extract the resources. For example, let me explain elaborately. For example, of the first point, that is technologically accessible. Here I am drawing the map of southern part of India. We all know that southern part of India is very rich in coal. So if we find in a particular place there is huge amount of coal, by research and technology, by research and scientific survey, we have found out that there is huge amount of coal is found in some part of South India. But if the government of India don't has that particular technology to assess that particular resource, so there are different things. There are different things in the environment which we know that can be used in the future, but the technology is not there at present to bring that particular thing into use to fulfill our need. That is why those things cannot be termed as resource till now. When the technology will be developed, then only that particular thing will be can be termed as resource. This is the first point, that is technologically accessible. Now let us move on to the next point, that is economically feasible. Okay, so the next point, that is economically feasible. So a particular thing can be only termed as resource when it is economically feasible. That is, a particular country or a particular government has the particular economy or the available money to extract the particular resources. For example, if you know Northeast India, I am drawing the map of Northeast India. It is very rough, but Northeast India is very much rich in resources, as everyone know. But the thing is that the government or the local government of that particular region don't have that particular economy to extract those resources and bring these resources into use. So these resources, though it is here, still then it is of no use. So a particular thing can be termed as resources when we have the particular economy or we have the available money to extract the particular resources. First thing. Secondly, the resources that is extracted should be profitable. It is not that while extracting we have spent 100 rupees and by selling that particular resource into the market we will get only 20 rupees, 50 rupees, 70 rupees. It will be a loss. So a thing can only be termed as resource when it is profitable or when it is good in use. The particular money that we extract is spent on extracting, that money we will get when we will sell it into the market. Then only a resources can be termed as, a particular thing can be termed as resource. So let us move on to the third point or third condition that is given for the use of resources or a particular thing to be resource is called culturally acceptable. So let us move on to the third condition, that is culturally acceptable. So a particular thing can be termed only as a resource, though it has all the qualities to satisfy our need, but it can only be termed as resource when it has the capability, when it is accepted by our culture. Okay, for example, here you see I have drawn the grapes. So as you know, grapes is a particular kind of fruit. From it can be used in different way. In Western countries, from grapes wine is prepared. Okay, so grapes is a resource for them to make wine. But in India, wine is not culturally acceptable thing. Here you may contradict with me that many people in the society, they take wine, even many kids or many youngsters also they take wine, but it is even the family they don't say anything. It is not like that. But the main thing here is, in India, a person who take wine is not accepted by the culture, or in society he don't get a good place. He is not considered to be a good person, a person who take wine. So still today in India, maybe in future, many years back, it may be accepted wine, but still today wine is not accepted, or wine is not accepted by our culture in our society. So in India, grapes cannot be used as a grapes is not a resource for us to make wine like in the Western countries. So from grapes we can make only juice, or we can eat it as a fruit, no problem. Okay. Then one more example for that beef and pork. This obviously we know which society or which particular religion, people of a particular religion, they follow this, who eat beef and who eat pork. Now the people who eat beef with a particular religion, for them pork is strictly prohibited. For them pork is not a resource. For them only beef is a resource. And there are some people who eat pork, but beef is for them, beef is not a resource, because their religion don't allow them to eat beef. So because their culture don't allow them to eat pork, beef culture allow them to eat beef, so beef is resource for them, and their culture allow them to eat pork, so pork is resource for them. This is the example that how culturally acceptable a particular resource, a particular thing should be, then only it will be termed as resources. Now let us move on to the next point, that is how resources are developed. So there are three processes involved in development of resources. Here it is, first is nature, second technology, then institution. First, resources is always developed by nature. Almost 90% of the resources only nature can develop these resources. No human being can create these resources. But these resources, when it is in the nature, only with the help of technology we can come to know about these resources. Only with the help of technology, firstly we can identify, then we can come to know about its use, then also in the process of extraction also we need technology. So first step is nature. Nature has created resources. Second, with the help of technology we have identified and also extracted and also found out the ways in which we can use that particular resources. Then the third most important thing is institution. So in that institution, many people who are well equipped, well know about that particular resource, they used to think and prepare a plan in which purpose, for which purpose that particular resources can be used for the development of the society, for the development of the country, in which side that particular resources will be used. So this threefold processes is involved in the development and the use of resources. For example, that is nature, technology and institution. Second thing, that is a misconception that is related or that is connected with the use of resources. That is, before people thought that resources are free gift of nature. But this is actually not true, because at present people have understood that resources are not free gift of nature. Why? You may say, or anyone may say that yes, resources are free gift of nature because nature has given us instinct that we have not given anything back to nature. Actually, the thing which we term as free, only that for which the things we term say free thing is those things for which we don't need to pay anything. For example, if we go to buy a toothpaste, with that we get a toothbrush free. That means we have paid for the toothpaste but we have not paid for the toothbrush. That means toothbrush is free. So people also have thought that resources are free gift of nature because we don't need to pay anything to it. But actually this is not true assumption, and because of this false thought that resources are free gift of nature, people have extracted the resources up till their heart content, and the resources come up to the verge of extinct. Now there is a shortage of resources. We are suffering from a problem where there will be in future, there may be very much shortage of resources. So the concept has been reviewed, because it was said that resources are free gift of nature, but resources are actually not free gift of nature. Everyone should understand this problem. Now, why we can say that resources are not free gift of nature? Because when we go on extracting resources, there will be a time when nature will take back from us. For example, if we go on extracting our agricultural land by using manure, fertilizer, everything, and spoiling the quality of the original quality of the land, then obviously there will be a time will come when there will be the total quality of the land will be destroyed, and no agriculture can be done there. That means we should pay back. In other cases, if you see you are going on extracting, cutting the mountains and extracting coal and all, then there will be a time when there will be earthquake, there may be tsunami, there may be flood, then many other natural calamities may take place, natural hazards, disaster may take place, due to which at that time we need to pay back. Many life and properties will be destroyed because of that. So it is said that resources are not free gift of nature. Then one more concept is that we have borrowed our art from our ancestors. We have borrowed our art from our kids or our children. It is not that we have got it free from our ancestors. So the thing which we borrow, we don't have our full capability or full capacity, full permission we don't have on that. So for that, what we need to do, we should give it as we have taken it. So the thing we have taken it from them, we should again give it back to our coming children as the same way we are getting. So if we go on extracting our resources, our kids will have nothing. So at last, the main point that we have come, that resources are not free gift of nature. So we should keep limitation in its use, its development and its future prospect. So next thing, human being itself is a resource. So resources, human being itself is a resource, and resources has only its resources has meaning only for human being. Why human being is called as resource? First thing, that is, human being is the only creature on this earth who can find out resources. Where is a particular resource, for what purpose we can use those. Okay. Then second thing, that human being only develop resource. No other creature on this earth can develop resources. They cannot use resources. They cannot use those resources for different purpose. Only human being can develop resources. Then third thing, human being only can use resources. No other animals, no other creatures can use resources. It is only human being. For example, if you take a piece of gold, you give it to a monkey, he will either, firstly he will try to eat. If he cannot eat, then he will throw it down. Gold has no value for monkey. So only human being know the value of gold. That is why human being itself is a resource. First thing. Secondly, if the development of human being takes place, human resource development, this is one concept that is very much in height nowadays, because the countries which has more amount of population like India, China, Bangladesh and all, if they term human being as they term their population, that is their human being as a resource, then they should develop their human resources. When they develop their human resources, many new technologies, many new ways will come out to develop the economy. So it is first focus, and very important focus is given on human being, so that the human resource is developed. Human being itself is termed as resource. Human being itself is a resource. Next, let us move on to the next topic, that is classification of resources. So resources can be classified on various bases. So on each basis the classification is different. That is, the same resources in different category can come into different classification if the basis is different. Here the first classification is based on origin, from where the resources have originated. Okay, so from that the resources can be divided into two types. First is biotic resource, and second is abiotic resource. The biotic resource are those resources which originates from living things. Okay, so those resources which comes from living things are called biotic resource. For example, plants and animals, these are biotic resource. Human being itself is a resource, already we have discussed. So this is called as human resource. Second is abiotic resource. So the resources which comes from non-living things. Okay, so all the non-living things that is can fulfill our need, all those are called as abiotic resource. For example, here it is given rock, air, water and all other non-living things which we can use as resource are called as abiotic resource. Let us move on to the next classification based on exhaustibility. Exhaustibility means once it is used, it get finished. For how long it stay, that is called exhaustibility. So based on exhaustibility, resources can be classified into two types, that is renewable resource or non-renewable resource. Renewable resources are those resources which can be renewed. Once used, it don't get finished, but it again get renewed. And non-renewable resources are those resources which once used, it get finished forever. It don't get renewed again. Or to renew the particular resource, it takes a very long time, say 1000 years, 2000 years, 10,000 years it may take to renew. So those resources which takes a very long time to renew or it don't get renewed. This is known as non-renewable resource. So for example, renewable resource, those is air and water. Once we use, again it get renewed. Then non-renewable resource, for example, here coal and petrol. That once coal is burned, it gets finished. Then again we cannot renew it. Then petrol, once we use, it gets finished. Again we cannot renew it. The next classification of resource is based on ownership. So a particular resource, who own it, it belongs to whom, who is the owner of that particular resource. Based on it, resources can be divided into 4 different categories. So first one is individual resource, a particular resource which belongs to a particular individual or a particular individual organization or a particular institution it may be. So these all things can be termed as individual resource. Here individual resource for private land, where my house is there, on that particular land my house is there, that land belongs to me, so that is my resource, that is individual resource. For example, any other thing, it may be agricultural land or what called particular houses, etc., building, etc. So second is community owned resource, a particular resource that is owned by community. So there are many land that is owned by community. For example, there is a playground. That playground don't belong to any particular person, any particular institution, organization. It belongs to the whole community. Then in the village area, there are areas where there is, which is left for grazing land. So all people, all the cattle of every person can go and graze there. There is no problem in that grazing land. So that particular grazing land is called as community resource. So third is national resource. So anything that is inside the country belongs to the nation. It is not that a particular country has something, so that individual will not give to the country. It is not that. So whenever the country will need it, the country can take. Other than that, from the coastline of a particular country up till 12 nautical miles. 12 nautical miles, that is in kilometers come 19.2 kilometers. From the coastline of a particular country up till 12 nautical miles towards the ocean or sea, it has in that area, whatever comes out from that area, the resource belongs to a particular country. So that is known as national resource. Now the fourth point is international resource. So from a particular coast of the area up till 200 nautical miles, beyond that whatever comes belong to the international organization. Whatever comes in from whatever resource that comes from those will be used for the benefit of the whole world, the society of the whole world. Every country will have, or the development of the whole world, it can be done. So this is known as international resource. Let us move on to the last classification of resources that is given in the book. So this is on the basis of status of development, how far it is developed a particular resource. Based on that, resources can be classified into 4 distinct types, that is potential resource, developed resource, stock and reserve. First is potential resource. Potential resource are those resources which has the potentiality to satisfy our need, which can be used for to satisfy our need, but at present it is not being used for certain regions, for economic development, because the particular country don't have that particular economy or money to use that particular resource. So these resources are called potential resource. In future, that resources can be used if it has the particular economic condition. Then second is developed resource. Developed resources are those resources which are already in use, which has already been developed and we are using it. For example, coal, petroleum, etc. So next is stock. Stock are those resources which can be used to, we know that we can use that particular resource to satisfy our need, but we are not using it, or we are not able to use it because lack of technology, because the particular technology to use that particular resource we don't have that. For example, we know that ocean water can be used for many to extract different kind of minerals from it. Ocean water has a huge amount of minerals. So we can use that particular ocean water to extract those minerals. But the technology that we need to extract the mineral is not yet developed. So that ocean water can be included in that stock. Next is reserve, the last one. So in a particular place the resource is there, then everything, technology is also there, economy is also there, but that resources extraction is not done, so that it is stored for the future. So then when in future we need that particular resource, then we can use it. For example, in USA they used to say that they have huge amount of petroleum resources, but they are not using it, so that they will use it in the future when all the reserves of the world will get finished. Then only USA will have petrol reserves. Now God knows and they knows what is true and false, we don't know. So here one more thing I want to say, that there is a difference between petroleum, this potential resource and stock. Here there is lack of, it is not used because of lack of economy. Here it is not used because of lack of technology. Here technology is only not there. But here technology is there, but that particular country don't have that particular economy to afford that technology to use those resources. This is the difference between this potential resource and stock. Thank you.